Question 4. Question 4 is, our libraries are not handicap accessible and are in fear of losing their state funding. What changes would you support at the town council level? First candidate to speak, Mr. Sheldon.
I think the two libraries that we have fit the character of the town. I'm not sure that a new library that's proposed at Simmons Crossing does that. I also think it's a little bit, the plan that was proposed at the meeting that they had was a little bit too elaborate. We're getting beyond having just a library. I'm a reader. I read everything.
Could you speak up
I'll
just
read
a
it.
little?
Is that better?
Yes.
I read everything. I love to read. I think libraries are a great thing, but I don't think they need to be more than libraries. Other than that, the libraries in Foster are independent, and how they spend their money is their business. I don't think the town should get involved in a huge expansion of a library at this time, because I don't think there's widespread support for it. But I also don't think it's needed. Foster Free has always been a great library. I personally haven't been in Tyler, but my wife worked in Foster Free for many years,
15 seconds.
and I really enjoyed that library. Its character is wonderful. I don't think it needs to be changed.
Mr. Lewis.
So first of all, this really is not a town council question, because the libraries, like the fire stations and the ambulance corps, are independent corporations. So they really don't need to come to the council to get approval to build the building that they want at the location that they want. Just like any of us, we're independent entities. If we have the money, we can go forward and purchase the property we want and build the building that we want. So this is not something that's necessarily ever going to come forward to the town council to pass a decision on. Where it would come in front of the town is if they were asking for some of the money from the taxpayers. And in that case, they would have to go in front of the financial town meeting and make their case and make that request. So while certainly I do support the library, I would not oppose them coming in front of a financial town meeting, making their case and hearing the voice of the voters. Personally, I'd like to see a new library. I hope that the old buildings are maintained somehow so that they're not lost to us. We don't have that historical loss. That they're maintained the way they look, repurposing them somehow. But I think with the feds breathing down their neck regarding the Americans with Disability Act and the handicapped accessibility, it's only a matter of time. If we don't do something now, we won't have any library in the future. Thank you.
Mr. Estivo.
So I personally am a very strong advocate for libraries. My first job was in a library. I worked in a library all through high school. And I think that they're phenomenal places for any community. A library is a place where anyone can go for free to better themselves, or at least it should be. I think the fact that there are members of our community who can't access our libraries is a shame. And it really is something that ought to be addressed. And as on town council, I would do whatever I could to advocate for whatever they thought was the best way to address that as a problem.
Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, I kind of concur with what Mr. Lewis says. They're a private entity, much like the fire departments, but there are times that they run into problems that they can't handle on their own, so they may need some help from the town. He had mentioned one way. Certain things, and I think the libraries may have an endowment of, last time I knew, was over $100,000 that they could use in putting our heads together and figure out there'll be challenges, but we could probably make them handicapped accessible. They could use the endowment, which I think was put in endowed to the libraries for capital improvements, which I think this would be considered a capital improvement to make them handicapped accessible. And with us putting our heads together between the town and the endowment, I think that's a hurdle that we might be able to overcome and fix what we got. So I don't think it's unfixable. I love the two libraries that we have, and I think we ought to keep them, and between the endowment and the town, I'm sure we can come up with some ideas. Thank you.
Mr. Stone?
Yes, I would support the effort to raise funding and volunteers to make the repair. I agree with Gordon.
Mr. Hawes?
Well, I support the libraries. Of course, I live in the other side of town, and we have a library over there in Moosa Valley. Nobody wants to lose it. I can understand that. But the library, like John says, is an entity unto themselves. And they own their libraries, they support themselves, and they gotta keep to the state demand. So I support the library.
Ms. Ryder?
Again, the library is not under the council's purview, but I would not obstruct any effort that they were going to make as far as going to the people for funding. Personally, I don't think it's any secret that my sister is the librarian. And several years ago, when she first, said, well, the library's on track, I was appalled. Our little libraries, when I go to Tyler, I feel like Melissa Gilbert, Little House with the Prairie, I absolutely love them. But, I do understand that the lack of handicapped accessibility is a major issue. They have done many studies. It is not fixable in either building. Therefore, I would be happy to work very hard to find stewards for the old buildings to keep them, as they are or close to as they are. But I certainly would appreciate a community center where there would be programs for tots, teens, seniors, where there would be meeting rooms where, even like a business organization could have a meeting. We could, where art could be shown on the walls, and there could be a real meeting place for the people in the town.
We here.
Mr. Dillon?
I don't have a problem with it. We're addressing a library. I don't have a problem with a new library. What I take issue with is we have many issues to address in this town. If the libraries can afford to do this themselves, that'd be wonderful. With the other problems that we have and the things we have to pay for, it just kind of falls short on the priority list of priorities. Possibly revamping the existing buildings as as upgrades. I'm sure it can be done, and it's obviously the possibility if the library has the monies to do that, make the minor changes, make them accessible, and keep using them. They are libraries. They're in two different locations. It's not maybe it's not the best thing compared to the new building that was shown at that meeting was pretty elaborate. Nice looking building. It obviously has all the features. Just financially, I don't believe if the town has to pay for this, I just don't believe we're ready at this point for that.
Mr. Franco?
Well, I think it's all been said. Thank you. I think it's all been said. It's the libraries. The town doesn't own them. The libraries own them. So I certainly support the library. My daughter worked there through high school. I think it's something that we need to have to be accessible for the handicapped. But again, it's the library, they own it. If they can get it, I would support them in any way, but it's not a town council. It would be up to the voters. Thank you.